what are you doing? This is unbelievable! Time to go! Passing them all to bits!
It's time for Watchpoint.
Welcome to MLG's Watchpoint. Mr. X here with Monty and Uber, and what a week to kick off the final stage of the Overwatch.
Week one, fam. Let's go.
I'm really excited about this patch. I mean, we're seeing so many different styles of compositions. It's an entirely new way of playing Overwatch. I think a deeper way of playing Overwatch, honestly. So looks like to me the patching situation did work itself out in the end.
It was a lot of fun.
Outlaws shill right here.
Yes, I'm the Outlaws shill.
Yeah.
Remember, I had to apologize.
You retracted your
Retraction.
Yeah,
That's right. So when you get a retract, was that a retraction of your retraction of the initial?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Which means I'm back to them being a patch team, which is still true, but they're great on this
come
patch.
on, man. The Outlaws are good.
I mean,
They are. I'm not saying they are.
So much conversation
They're
about that.
situationally good.
But they got a good take on the game right now, and they're winning. So, I mean, I'm not really going to complain. And we actually saw the interview, you know, the one with Raucus and Muma sat there talking about playing Brigitte. So we'll see if that continues to develop. But as we do every Monday, we're going to recap all the action from this week in the Overwatch League, beginning with your biggest stories in 90 seconds.
The final stage of the Overwatch League regular season has ushered in a new character, new meta, and for the Uprising, brand new results.
Could be all over here for the Boston Uprising match.
Boston's 14-match regular season win streak was ended by Philadelphia,
Philadelphia, stage 4, a serious contender right now.
as the Fusion came away with a convincing 3-1 victory.
Is this gonna be it? The barrage? EQO survives? Come on!
The Fusion continue their hot streak, registering 0 deaths on Oasis versus the Mayhem, en route to a 2-0 week.
And that's gonna be it. 40-0, perfect map.
Houston looked emboldened by the new meta.
Stage 4, the map pool, is actually the biggest advantage for us.
Stage 1 all over again, baby.
Seriously.
The Outlaws returned to their Stage 1 ways, beating both the Spitfire and Uprising, making great use of their versatile roster.
We can run whatever we want, whenever we want to. It's just awesome to have a team like this.
The Valiant prevailed over the Dynasty in 5 maps.
Los Angeles come out on top in front of a home crowd. And you can see, Matt, they couldn't be happier.
And Seoul's misery continued,
That is a loss that will sting.
as they fell again to the Shock 3-1. And another pre-season favourite, the London Spitfire, saw their fortunes reverse, dropping both of their Week 1 matches.
New York at the very end will pull through to victory.
Including a 3-1 loss to rival NYXL.
We got a new meta, new players, and most of all, we got a new hero. Are you guys excited?
1 week into our final stage, the NYXL have locked up a playoff spot already. Behind that, it's pretty wide open. Teams 2 through 8 are separated by just 4 matches. And one team that looks to be surging right now is the Houston Outlaws. Yes, that's right. New sheriff in town, all their
Terrible.
faulty
Bring it
memes,
back. Bring it back.
faulty idioms where they don't know what it means. But what they do know is how to win on this patch. And I'm really liking Jake. And as for all the criticism that Jake received over the course of the last couple of stages because of his tracer play, we can actually take a look right now at his DPS ranks. And of course, these numbers are going to be inflated by the fact that he's been playing Junkrat and Pharah a lot, especially the damage done. But as you can see, even though those have been inflated somewhat, a lot of people are playing the Junkrat and the Pharah, and he's still second most in damage this stage. His Pharah has really been on point. And this is playing into the strengths of the Houston Outlaws. You can see ult combos and ult economy have always been something they've done well, and now they're not held back by the need to have that tracer player making the big individual plays, and they can really focus on their strengths. So it's a great time to be an Outlaws fan.
In a meta that is kind of for the players who play off meta stuff in the past, right? No, in the game of like your Widow, your Genji, your Tracer. Now it's all about those off niche picks like your Pharahs and Junkrats coming in to actually be like mainstays, where you would want somebody like Jake. I mean, one of the best of those heroes.
It's maybe even less that there are mainstays now because teams are using these things like
many.
Junkrat, the Pharah to try and counter opposition compositions, right? We're seeing a lot more switching mid-round.
And that's it. The teams that do have these smart shot calling and good ult economy, it means so much more on this patch than it did previously. This patch, I think we've seen a decrease in individual plays making the big difference in these games, and more on how you coordinate as a team and when you're swapping heroes.
People aren't trying to brute force the team composition and get it across the line just by being better in general as a team. Maybe it's kind of nice to see a little bit more parity in that regard. And then, he who dares wins, or when it comes to, coming up with a composition that's tailored to a certain scenario. But I've got to say, talking about other players on the Outlaws that performed, in my opinion, very well. Muma is going to be up there. I mean, we know this guy's been a Reinhardt player. He goes on record, says that he sort of prefers to play Reinhardt. But, I mean, this change of meta also impacts him quite positively now, even with changes around him, even with his flex tank sort of switching in and out a little bit more now. This guy's just been killing it. His Reinhardt has definitely been a big part of this team's success this week.
Yeah, I mean, he was great playing Brigitte as well in their one match on Gibraltar, where they ran like the D.Va and the Brigitte as a duo tank line.
Okay, so. I actually think that was more of the London Spitfire making mistakes than that being a good comp. I'm sure they were surprised by it, but I don't think
they had no idea what to do.
That's going to do. You'll notice on Gibraltar they didn't do that in their second.
Are you trying to tell me then the Los Angeles Valiant putting in 4 bench players for that last match was also legitimate? Get out.
Who'd they play? They played the Dragons?
They lost the map, didn't they, bro?
Right. I want to talk about Spree. The man comes in playing Zarya at the top level. We knew he was a Zarya specialist, and a lot of teams have players who are, in theory, Zarya specialists. But for me, Spree in week 1 looked like clearly the best out of these Zarya specialists that were brought in. He made a huge difference. His grab usage was really good in week 1. I think, it may be a little bit telegraphed when they have either him or Cool Matt in the game what they're going to do, but with how good they are at these heroes, I don't even know if it matters.
I mean, to be honest, you saw him go up against Kalios there on some occasions. Kalios dumpstered Poco in a series that Boston did lose. So seeing him come out there and just be very strong, and even playing a fair bit of Roadhog on King's Row attack as well, playing up against enemy Orisa composition. So you want to bring Spree in, get him to play the Roadhog, extra shield pressure, and also you're playing in comps where you're forcing the enemy team down onto the point when you're attacking. So he's got that flexibility there, which makes a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, another team that you mentioned there real quick was Poco and the Philadelphia Fusion. That's a team that I want to talk about. They had a really strong start to Stage 4. They go 2-0 this week. The only map they actually lose is with, Poco and Fraggy in the game, right? Sato came in. We knew this guy was going to play eventually once he was eligible, and I think him and Hotba made a big difference in that tank lineup. These guys just stay alive for so long.
And what I love about what Philadelphia Fusion is doing, we were just talking about Houston making the smart swaps with a specialist with Spree coming in, but they're preserving their tank lineups, right? You have Fraggy and Poco, you have Sato and Hotba, and it seems weird, but that's so important because the main tank and the flex tank have to know each other's styles to have a synergy, because that gets into London having these gesture with 2 different flex tanks, and it's really not working out. So I think Philly, they've figured it out, keep the main tanks operating together as a unit, and then use their strengths independently of each other.
And it's evident to us now that both of those tank compositions can play the complete sort of array of permutations, right? We've seen that, Poco can play the Zarya. It didn't start off great. I didn't love it against the Boston Uprising. But we also saw Hotba Zarya in general. He played very, very well. I think Hotba, definitely showed up. Poco this week in general, we brought him into the roster. The last time we saw this guy, I'm pretty sure it was in a random match against the Shanghai Dragons in Stage 2 on Eichenwald or something like that. And he didn't light the world on fire, right? There was a lot of positioning concerns, but here he's shown us now maybe more of the breadth and depth of his hero pool and performances. Here's your head-to-head with Poco now. This is the Zarya play, and you can see the Hotba had a far better showing, and Poco was someone that we hyped up. Sideshows on the desk saying this guy may be the best Zarya in the Overwatch League. Hyperbole aside, it's kind of something we see from the boys on the desk at times. Hotba definitely came in strong when Poco was lagging.
Yeah, the only thing we saw from Hotba that we didn't see from Poco and that we haven't seen from Poco in the past, obviously, is the ability to play Brigitte. We saw there real quick. I know some teams on Dorado, they like to run that Orisa solo tank with Brigitte as like an off tank or triple support. So that's the only thing we saw from Hotba that we didn't see from Poco in week 1, which I'm wondering if Poco has in his game.
Yeah, and we do look at the surge of the Philadelphia Fusion, but we also have to talk about Boston, right? It's a team that lost to both Houston and Philadelphia. The Uprising looked very beatable in week 1. And I think a lot of this may be mistakes coming back down to earth a bit on the Widowmaker. As excellent as Mistake was on Widow in the stage playoffs, I think he played above the level that we expected from him. Now that Striker's no longer on the Tracer, there's less backline pressure, there's less room for mistakes, and now he has to be the one stepping up, and he did not look good on the Widow.
I know Mistakes took it hard as well, and I remember I overheard Huck telling him not to take it all on himself, so he's pretty aware of his shortcomings this week.
Well, I think the big thing is that you can't have Striker really just insta-lock Tracer and play that all game anymore. And like you mentioned, Monty, he was in the backline doing so much damage that this guy would finish like games casually with like 40 elims, like 27 final blows. Like when you lose that much production, where are you getting it from? It's got to be from the other DPS, especially in a meta where you think Widowmaker's still going to be very good.
Yeah, and look at just these clips, right? You saw in that clip, it was the Brigitte just shutting down Striker.
He got styled on by Jake.
Yeah, he got styled on by Jake. And remember, last stage, if it was Jake versus Striker, it would have been a whitewash in the Tracer versus Tracer in favor of Striker. But now Jake can play something that really shuts him down in that backline. And because it was Striker, think how many 3-2s Boston had. Well, I remember that London match they were playing last stage where Striker had to play out of his mind on Oasis to keep them in it. And now they're not going to have that same carry potential.
And you see their schedule that we had up for a few seconds there. I mean, none of their matches are like easy coming into this stage. I mean, they have Shanghai and Florida, so you think those are potentially 2 wins. But outside of that, if they can't adjust to this meta, where do they find wins?
This is a team that's still not to the
in
Shock,
yet.
even to Seoul, even in Seoul's current state as well. And then obviously everyone above that. So there is concern there. I'm quite sure that they're ready to batten the hatches. There might be another stage 2 performance from Boston, which was not good. But I want to talk about another 0-2 team while we're ring-the-ding-ding-ding down the list. It's the London Spitfire. So Birdman comes back in right after his injury or his whatever, his sojourn away from playing. It was okay. Not great though. It's not the Birdman that they needed him to be. Against Houston, he was streaky between maps. His Gibraltar was not good. He played fairly well on the Assault map in that series, but again, streakiness there. London need consistency more than ever right now, and they're not getting it from Birdring.
And I think with Birdring, too, the thing that bothers me about him is it seems like when he starts losing a Widow battle, we saw this with Carpe in the stage playoffs, he takes more and more aggressive peaks. Like, he starts playing crazier and crazier and crazier, and then that just results in him feeding more. So I think they really need to work on how he's playing in these games. But like I touched on earlier, having the tank line be so inconsistent is also very hard for the DPS players, because with Fury and Wuhyol, Gesture has to work with both of these guys. And Gesture is fundamentally a defensive tank. He likes to make space, right? He's not really diving the back line. Now, Fury is the more defensive option. Wuhyol is very aggressive.
Super aggressive.
Yeah. Very aggressive.
This worked out for them last stage, though, really well. There were games, especially when London played Seoul, where Wuhyol's signature aggressiveness allowed them to pummel Jaehong on that flexible.
They probably beat Seoul even if they play Fury as well.
Again, they were not, but it was a different play style that they just got into the backline. They were able to play that aggressive dive because it made sense, right? The meta also catered very much to playing a dive comp. Now I think Wuhyol's playstyle makes very little sense, especially putting next to Gesture.
And you really just have to focus on Prophet and Birdring right now. These guys are the core of your team. They have the highest skill ceiling of any DPS duo in this league. We need to see them do that. Now, one question I had coming in was, what is really the difference between Closer and Nuss? Because one of the other frustrating things that London does is halfway through a match, change out their entire support line. Like, they're eliminating synergy. And as you can tell, there's not really a noticeable statistical difference between these two players. And even though we can talk about the difference between Wuhyol and Fury or Hogman and
shot calling and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But then why wouldn't, if they're statistically the same, and we can't really tell you verbally the difference between these players, go with the one who's going to be the better shot caller in these games. There doesn't seem to be a need to switch your main support out as frequently as London is doing. And I think that's what they need to go back to. Consistency in supports, consistency in the flex tank, work around your DPS stars, and that's how you get back on track.
You would think, I mean, I imagine being a London Spitfire fan is really frustrating from the standpoint is you look at this roster and it's not like, some of the other ones that are struggling where they have glaring holes. There's really not like any holes.
No, you don't change players.
Yeah, you don't change any players.
They've done this since day one. You know the amount of series they lost in the tiebreaker? They switched their entire team lineup after the first 2 maps. They literally played 4 different players from map 3 to map 5.
It has to
They
stop.
do this all the time. They did this under Bishop. They did this now. It's been happening the whole season.
I mean, look, we didn't see London and Boston going 0-2 in week 1, and there were a bunch of plays that surprised us as well. Just didn't see that coming. First one's going to be Space with a perfectly placed self-destruct on Gibraltar against the Seoul Dynasty. I loved this play. Throws the self-destruct in a perfect spot. See Gambler right by the spawn door, and actually it's flooded inside that door right there, playing by Jae Hong, able to connect with him as well.
I remember it just occurred to me that now we're seeing Diva players set these up much more. They're not just ways of getting your mech back. So nice turnaround. Space was just sick in that series. Fearless gets a bit of primal rage on here as well, and he turns his fight around quite nicely here. He identifies that, Fate was trying to go for that mega health pack. He realizes, it's time to strike. GTA, boys.
I love that. I love Fearless. I think he's a great player. He's one of the bright spots in Shanghai. Good pickup, and I hope he starts doing better, at least in terms of his team results. But speaking of a team that had good results this week, it will be Sato's debut.
Oh, is this Apex Season 2?
Yeah, it's like, this is why you check your corners. If you are the Florida Mayhem, Sato gonna come out here with the fatty shatter, and that's just a hell of a cleanup by the rest of the team. No eliminations in Oasis at all for the Mayhem.
You can't let that happen.
Horrendous.
You gotta check your corners. So this is Striker's Farah getting a 4K to almost flip the point, but Carpe comes in with the solo retank. This is just ridiculous. I think I saw one of the Fusion guys tweet out that the entire time Carpe during this is screaming winnable, winnable, winnable. Anytime he's alive, you assume that it is winnable. Look at this, just walking into the point as Widowmaker, just taking people's faces off.
This doesn't make any sense. I still can't believe that. Gamsu, so he hits an Earth Shatter sort of while he's caught in the Graviton Surge now, and this turnaround is quite interesting, right? He's in the grab, he charges out, what's up, Carpe? Peace.
That's such a nice play, and we see so many counter shatters to these grabs right now. It really is a mind game with the crowd control. And speaking of Reinhardt players, it has been a bit of a Reinhardt montage. We'll keep up that theme now. OGE is going to stop Silk Thread in his tracks. Pulls out the Dragon Blade, but guess what? There's already a Reinhardt mid-charge. Bit of a luck right there, bit of luck, but you'll take it.
He's trying to charge back to his team and randomly hits into Silk Thread. That's an incredible form of luck there. This is going to be the Gladiator spawn killing Dante to gain the fight advantage. I love this. They know the Junkrat is coming off. The spawn Junkrat, a ton of the damage that the Shock have here on the defensive end, and Dante's in a world of trouble, not making it anywhere close to the point again.
Yeah, like we're still seeing Tracer Sombra get good play on that map, but that's a good example of Tracer's mobility use the spawn camp. Here's someone who knows how to get from coast to coast on the map. Check this out. We see the Dragon Blade brought out to get rid of that Riptide there as well. He just sees a glimpse of it, and Architect times it perfectly as well. You need to time the slash, because if the tide gets close enough to detonate, you're not going to hit it. You're going to die.
And you have to make that play, too, because the Mercy's right there damage boosting. If you don't make it, you lose, too. So that is an absolutely monster play. And speaking of monster plays, Jake on this Brigitte was fantastic this week, and he is going to shut him down.
The Dilmar dunk.
Yeah, that's right. Just getting a little tactical crouching in at the end. He hasn't had that luxury by winning a lot of plays on the Tracer, but that one is too. Just hitting the Genji midair. That's going to shut down a Dragon Blade in the end, slashing just futilely.
I mean, he's trying to hit that Mercy, right? Let's be clear. He's not trying to hit the Genji. But I mean, even getting the Mercy would be sick. I mean, Brigitte gives you so many options and opportunities. So it was an interesting week indeed. Seeing a new hero integrated into league play, and while many players are still learning how to say Brigitte's name, she certainly made quite the first impression.
God, this is by far the hardest question. Brigitte?
The new hero's name is definitely Brigitte, like spaghetti.
For me, I pronounce it Brigitte.
Let's just have everyone call her Brig, and our life will be much easier.
In game, I would call it Brigitte.
Just by the addition of Brigitte, like the whole meta changed. The meta that's been in this game for so long.
In the stage 1, 2, 3, people keep playing dive comp everywhere.
They're just going to play dive.
It does seem like they want to run a dive composition. Dive, no surprise here.
Not only is she really good against tanks, but she's also really good against dive. It makes the game like a lot more diverse.
I think it's like very healthy for the game.
Combo. Nikki looking pretty damn good on this Brigitte.
She's very effective right now because Brigitte hard counters Tracer. There's no doubt about that.
This is a smear on the floor now, isn't he?
Her stuns are on really short cooldowns, and her armor is really, really strong.
His movement just charges headlong at him, and the whip shot is enough to finish the kill. He wants to tangle. Oh yeah, come at me, he says.
What I love most about playing Brigitte would be, it would probably be that like I'm actually playing a new character.
My favorite thing about playing Brigitte is probably just how much impact you can have on the Ryan v Ryan matchup.
Oh yes, making life very, very hard for less mobile heroes on the map. Dealing death wherever he goes.
Like, yeah, now you can dive me, and it forces them to actually have to dive into that, and it's just not good.
It's like new meta, no one's used to it, no one really knows how to like play it efficiently, but to support what Brigitte is, I mean, like this is something you have to do.
Brigitte is still vulnerable against like spam comp like Junkrat or Pharah, spam from far away, nothing you can do about it.
This is why it's so hard.
You are going to switch Damon over to the Junkrat.
I think after like 1 or 2 weeks, people will learn how to do it.
As stage 4 progresses, Brigitte comps are going to be a lot weaker.
How afraid of Muma are they, by the way? 4 players backing away.
Her weaknesses are actually like really big weaknesses, and they're really easy to exploit.
People are slowly starting to learn how to keep that distance, so we'll see how it goes for long term.
Brigitte is a support hero. Uber thinks she's DPS. It's true. But we saw how much offense she can bring in week 1, as you are looking at on your screen right now. Muma emerged as a top Brigitte in several categories. He was #1 in elims and final blows per 10 minutes, but that was just on Gibraltar versus London. And he was 2nd in hero damage per 10 behind Jake. Brigitte is having a big impact on the league, and we will continue to talk about her as we begin attack or defend.
How I've missed this.
I know, you really like arguing with Mr. X. It is the weekly ritual where these two fight like children, which is true, for my approval. And in the end, just like children, I will give approval.
Some of us still act like children.
Well, let's talk about Brigitte. Brigitte had a 24% pick rate in week 1, which was the 10th highest. And we know that Tracer is vulnerable to Brigitte, which is why we saw Tracer's pick rate plummet to a scant 32.5%. The point is, with Brigitte in the meta, Tracer is no longer the most important hero in Overwatch. Mr. X, you can start first, attack, or defend.
I'm going to defend that. I don't think that Tracer is the most important hero right now. I actually think it's probably your Zenyatta. When you have Brigitte comps that come in, you can run triple support, you can get that Zenyatta full of armor, and I think with Zenyatta right now, you see the biggest difference between the top Zenyatta and the rest of Zenyatta's in the league, and look at that team. They only have 3 losses. So I think Zen right now is definitely the most influential.
That's been true the whole time, though.
Yeah?
That's been true the whole time.
I would say Zen's most influential right now.
It's like defending the question there are 4 seasons in a year. I actually don't think Tracer was ever the most important hero in the Overwatch League. I think D.Va was. D.Va was the most important hero and still is actually to a great degree now with a little bit less Saya. But D.Va's the best 1v1 hero in the game, in my opinion. She's got mobility. She's also got a great ability to shut down a lot of those important ults that resolve as projectiles.
How good is D.Va against Zarya 1-on-1?
Not great. Not great. You can't defend.
I was just asking. I wasn't sure.
I actually had to go with Mr. X on this one. I do think, I think your argument was good, though, having the D.Va be the most important
to do mental gymnastics around it.
I don't think D.Va's most important now, especially with some of those nerfs. She does have less of kill potential. And I'm not sure if it's Zenyatta, but...
Who would you say?
I think you're, off the top of my head, like, Zenyatta, I think you can present a strong case for, but I'm still waiting, I think, for the meta to shake itself out a little bit more before we make any definitive statements. So I'm not even sure I know the answer.
Is that the meta? Yeah. Are you representing the meta right now?
He's the shaking meta. So let's go on to the next one. Next up, the Dynasty went 0-2 this week, and the Ryu Jae-hong main tank project looking like it might, in fact, be a failure. His Winston ranks in week 1 were toward the bottom of the league. He ranked 14th out of 16 Winstons in deaths, and he wasn't top 10 in any major category. Couple that with the fact that Reinhardt is much more important this stage, and you start to question this lineup decision. As we look at Jae-hong's Reinhardt numbers versus Miro's, Miro has the edge across the board. Also, Miro's final blows lead the league, and he has the 3rd fewest deaths per 10. So the point is, Seoul needs to go back to Miro at least on Reinhardt maps. Uber, you can take this one first, attack or defend.
Great, I get the easy one this time. I defend this. I actually think right now, like Miro actually also said he's doing a bit better. He took some time off to break. And Jae-hong admitted in the interview that we saw that it was out of necessity that he's actually playing tank at the moment. Miro's got better stats. Right now, just abuse the crap out of Brigitte. Put Reinhardt in there. You have Pharah. You can actually play against the comp if they try and exploit that.
I would actually attack this. I think you need to keep Jae-hong in the game, whether it's Winston or Ryan. It has not been pretty, but I think you just start to have too many moving parts. Now you bring in Miro back in at main tank, which you weren't happy about before. What do you do with Jae-hong? Does he go back to support? Now where does Guido go after Guido and Gambler have had a good time playing with each other? It just creates so much uncertainty to a roster that you need to have certainty in this final few weeks. You
just
need
play
to
one
make it
style
happen.
and be good at it. Just get Jae-hong out, play Miro and Reinhardt, and get good at one style first.
I think both of these were hard because I think there was a big advantage to whoever went first to these questions. I won't give it to Mitch. I think like you have to bring Miro back in. If there's still shot calling coming from Toby or Gambler, whichever support they have in, but he has really been abysmal on the Reinhardt. It's super hard to defend his play when he's like losing straight up frontline battles and losing to San Francisco.
This works,
a lot of shatters into
this
shields.
Works a lot easier when me and Matt actually disagree on the point that comes up.
I think we're all on the same page with both of these. But anyway, we'll go to the last one, the sudden death. It will be following the Fusion slaughter of the Florida Mayhem. The Snillo pillow from the Fusion's web video made its debut on our analyst desk. Snillo the pillow on the desk. Mr. X, attack or defend?
I'm gonna attack this. This is just a weird. I don't know who made this Snillo pillow. Nothing against Snillo, but there really shouldn't be like. Look how weird it looks. Like there should never be a pillow like that has somebody's like body on it. It's not even like his whole body. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. Who wants this? Like I mean.
Also, it says right here, to Puckett, you're the best caster.
Oh, by the way.
So he's also a liar, I guess.
Also a liar.
Just a liar.
The people on the desk are analysts, and Puckett is a host. I see everybody being called a caster now.
Okay, so, is more personality than Johnny? I guess,
oh, the banter.
I guess we could do that.
Banter.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I think it's nice to have
Poor Johnny live a little bit.
It's nice to have
man.
a softer touch on the desk sometimes, as well. And I think he dresses better than some of our analysts, so yeah.
I have to go with Mitch. I like the banter. I'm always for a bit of sweet passing.
Easy way out. Easy way out.
He's having too much fun with the snow.
This is actually a lot of fun.
You can take it. You can take it home. I'm sure Philly will get you one. All right, guys. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with Emote Control. This week we'll be evaluating the latest in handshake fails on the Overwatch stage, a tragedy that's becoming far too common, as well as the royalest of royal weddings between Gesture and Wu Hyal. This is Watchpoint.
For Boston, it is not looking good. And New York Excel defend their title. Boston Uprising can feel proud of their performance this stage. Valuable experience gained for Boston.
We finished stage 3. We were pretty happy with our results. I think we were still a bit frustrated that we couldn't beat Nixel in the finals.
And after that, we had to wake up the day after and we went straight to the airport.
We were definitely really excited to finally come to Boston and meet all the fans. I hadn't really experienced anything like that before, being like greeted at an airport by a crowd, all like super excited to meet us and welcome us to the city finally. I'm kind of into history, and Boston as a city has some of the most history out of any in the country. So like visiting it, walking around, seeing all these places that I've recognized from textbooks and stuff, that was really cool.
seeing Gillette Stadium was like pretty nice. I thought I would give it a shot to throw a football, and I think I had like one really good throw, and it was like 6 yards. We even saw the trophy rooms, and I put on one of the Super Bowl rings.
Places like those especially have a lot of sports history to them, and I'm hoping that some places in esports will kind of have that legacy to them in the years to come.
I'm still excited about the fact that I'm like under the same organization as the Patriots.
I think it's really, really cool that we're part of that organization, and it's super, super motivating. Robert Kraft kind of has like an aura, I guess. Like you can tell that he's got an insane amount of like wisdom and experience. Just being like part of that family really kind of has a lot of weight for me.
This is our trophy room, so we're counting on you all to help get us some trophies.
I want to go back to Boston.
One day, if we're still on this team, and maybe next season or next season after that, we go and we train from the Gillette Stadium.
Oh, that'd be sick.
3, 2, 1,
Boston up! I think like the facilities at the Gillette Stadium too are like already set up all like for a few sports teams to practice there. So we could just like piggyback on that. We'd have a pretty cool system.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately for Uncle Bobby and the Uprising, they haven't had as much fun since they returned from Boston. We talked about Striker's drop-off in week 1, and you can see here that Gamsu took a dip from his Stage 3 performance in all major categories as Winston. Less than ideal. This, my friends, is a giant remote. I've used this prop many times. I usually have a joke prepared for it. This time I don't, because how many can you really make? I'm out of giant remote. I'm going to use it, though, to take us through Emote Control. There's that week 1 blues coming through. I'll see if I can...
That was a funny joke, Mitch.
Thanks, Matt. Take notes. Here's Mickey, though, making something disappear like I wish Matt would. What do you think about this one? Bam!
Aww. Mickey's always got these funny jokes. I'm gonna go the what face here, though. He's got to come up with some better magic tricks. If this Overwatch career doesn't work out, he's got to come up with some better stuff than this.
That's pretty good.
Nah, it's all right.
I love this. I'm going to use the Kappa because he's trolling the audience right now with the magic trick, making things disappear. So this is great from Mickey. I love that the players still do some fun entrances and little bits when the camera's on.
He also made Shanghai's hopes of the first win disappear. So
he was really a magician this week, pulling the rabbit out of the hat, as it were.
Well, also with what he got away with, it's like David Copperfield flying around the battlefield. Anyway, let's move on here. Let's play some Jenga with DivaMix. This is quite interesting. We have a couple of self-destructs here. What Nevix does is quite interesting.
All right, this is definitely not intentional, but it's pretty tremendous. He just launches it right on top of Zumba's. This is pretty funny. Zumba's probably like, what the hell is happening here as he just blows up.
More handshake fails, but you know we love those. It's low-hanging fruit.
No, come on, man. like you gotta get this right at least once. Like I believe that's Hoppa, like just coming to the game. Like you gotta get it better. I saw another one. I think it was Carpe or like refusing to shake.
What is it with these Korean Philly players?
And they just give up, right? They just give up.
Trolling their allies, their teammates with this. This is definitely like a one-face moment for me. It's so deliberate. I love it.
I love that they're just kind of resigned to it.
Dude, the fake meta, the Philly fans are faking people out with high fives. It's great.
There you go. There's nothing fake about this one. Banny gets in with that the strong hand and actually scores himself a melee kill with Mercy, which is a little bit rare.
I'm going to go with our largest emote for this. I'm going to go with the, what are you calling this, Mitch? Uber Duckface? Is that what it's called? I'm going to go Uber Duckface on this one. Because Bonnie just gives Birdring a little whack with the staff there.
You know? This is just hilarious. Like, I love seeing these Mercy plays. We saw a lot of them from Neptuno this week. More Battle Mercy plays. It's always exciting when this happens, and it's certainly good for a dose of beer.
I think that emote of me, I haven't outdated one of my channels called Uber's Blue Steel. Copyright. Anyway, let's move along. It is the Royal Wedding, and as it was aptly named later, became the Red Wedding. But we did love a little bit of this action. What a cute couple.
Oh, I'm gonna go Boneface version of PogChamp for this one. I know it's kind of cool. You know, London, obviously, the Royal Wedding, big deal over there. They kind of, pay homage to that, do a little bit of a Royal Wedding. Yeah, the Australians love the Royal Wedding as well. But
I love it when teams do these walkouts. I feel like the walkout game has generally been weaker as we've gone on through. Stage 1 was incredible. So seeing more of this stuff, especially it's a time for teams to show their personality, connections to their local homes. So this is a great touch, I thought.
I can't wait. At the end of the year, we have to do this if we do an award show. I'm talking to you, Sean. We need to get a walkout, the all walkout team. We need to make a 6-squad, the all walkout team.
I love it.
Of the walkout MVPs.
So they just walk out before the start of the game and then they never get
Swoosh is the walkout MVP already. He doesn't have to walk out one more
Gesture
time.
is definitely up there as well.
Gesture's up there as well.
He's out there driving, you know, I feel that. So, I mean, it's been a great start, right, to stage 4. We got a new meta. It looks different. The stakes have never been higher, right? No one wanted to peak in stage 3, but now stage 4 is it's time to really aim high. But before we move on to week 2, and I'm sure some more epic games to come, we want to give you all some much needed closure from week 1. It's time for Hindsight. Monty, you're up.
I really like the fact that with this new Brigitte meta, we are seeing teams like the Houston Outlaws who have been good in terms of switching their compositions, and apparently that's hilarious to me. Lol auntie is, I think, the thing that Twitch chat likes to type these days. But anyway, I think that we're in a situation right now where previously in Overwatch, you could always rely on Tracer, Genji, Winston, D.Va dive compositions, no matter the map, no matter the situation. And so this made teams that were good at the dive always have something to fall back on, even if they didn't know the exact right compositional answer to what they were facing. Now, however, I think we're in a situation where we're going to see a lot more depth in terms of compositions. You're going to have to be reactive in the way that you play around your enemy's strategies, and it's going to reward proper planning, proper strategic adjustments from players in-game. And for me, this is like an exciting new depth to Overwatch that we really haven't seen before. Lol.
So I think that, okay, so my hindsight is pretty much this. It might sound like a cop-out, but we're so used to the NYXL just being incredibly good that I think the impact of a lot of the decisions and plays that they make along the way kind of gets diminished a bit. Especially, I think back to the London game as well, and NYXL not showing any Brigitte whatsoever, right? London thought they could play a composition that would sort of force them into playing Brigitte but making them uncomfortable with it. And then we saw NYXL be dominant with that pick. Sabiobi obviously playing fantastic on Brigitte. We even saw Meko play a little bit at some points throughout the series. Also, we see Doomfist really get a lot of good use. We've seen it before out of the LA Gladiators, but now Pine showing up on that in a big way. These guys are 5 games ahead, have already qualified for the stage playoffs, and I'll be honest, it's hard sometimes to convey just how incredible these individuals are when we talk about it every week. So sometimes I think we just need to not sleep on the fact that these guys are miles ahead of the rest of the field at the moment.
Yeah, and for me, my hindsight is this meta with Brigitte is, not as bad as I thought it would be. I was admittedly pretty scared. Yeah, you can bring that one over here. Yep, there it is. I was, it's just a drastic change of the game when she comes in. She's so good against your Genjis and your Tracers, some of the heroes that are the most impactful. And I was a little bit worried about how she was going to affect the game, but I think it's affected in a positive way. There's not just one comp you can fall back on and just focus and be good on that comp and really start dominating other teams. A lot like what Monty said, you have to be good at everything now. It includes, more switching in between the games. I think it's great to see her in competitive play. I think she's been a great addition to the meta, and I know we all love seeing that good Ryan and Zarya play she brings with it.
That does it. All right, let's wrap it up. That does it for MLT's Watchpoint. I'm going to go chillo with my new Snillo pillow. Check out our Watchpoint preview show on Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Pacific time on overwatchleague.com or the Overwatch League app. If you haven't got that one yet, get it. It's getting better as time goes on. Thanks for watching. Week 2's covered up. We'll see you there.